Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 6, Tsumihoroboshi. So last time we saw pretty much a similar events, right, to just a little bit on Onikakushi, right, when Oishi went to school, but this time it was Rena who was speaking with him instead of Keiichi, right? And then we also saw a little bit of flashback, I suppose, before Takano went missing. Rena met her at the library, and we learn more about Rena there, right? Her condition, what is happening with her, and then Takano gave her some scrapbooks, right? So hopefully this episode we see those scrapbooks because I really want to know what's in them, right? Hopefully. Please. Yes, please. Alright, let's continue. Let's see. About homing ability and homesickness. If you interpret homing ability in a broad sense, you can say that most animals have a homing ability. It's the same with humans. We like to sleep, rest, and eat at a place where we feel comfortable, namely our homes. Your home is to you what nests are to animals. Therefore, we can say that humans have a homing ability as well. First of all, why do animals need nests? The answer is the same for humans. Sleeping, resting, and eating are essential actions for survival. At the same time, those actions leave one defenseless as well. That's why you need a safe area where you can be defenseless. Everybody knows that not having this safe area results in high level of stress. When you move an animal to a new environment, it naturally becomes stress. True, yes, if you get a new dog or you go to a new place, right, with your dog, it's gonna be, it's gonna act a little bit different at first. When you force a person to live in a foreign land where they aren't comfortable, they become greatly stressed as well. Everybody else knows that this kind of stress is called homesickness. The Japanese don't know much about homesickness. We defined it as mental sickness and we neglected to treat it for a long period of time. However, homesickness has a very long history in Europe's Middle Ages. People believe that it wasn't a mental but rather a physical disease. People also believe that out of everyone, the Swiss got the disease the most. The Swiss, you see, were known to be an ethnic group that worked away from home in that area. They lived far away from their homes. There were no telephones at the time, so they couldn't even hear their families' voices for ages and ages. It's easy to imagine that the young Swiss workers got homesick while working in a strange land. The Swiss who got homesick wanted to go home, but they couldn't because of their jobs. The conflict made them weak physically and mentally. Some of them went crazy and tried to escape from their reality by committing suicide or running away. The Swiss at the time were very superstitious, and many folk remedies and occult-like treatments to prevent homesickness went around. Since going home was the only treatment, they must have called it a fatal disease. But it isn't really one, of course. Specifically, homesickness is a sign of that human homing instinct. Your brain desires to go back to your safe area, namely your home. At first, your brain makes you remember the happy memories of your home and it urges you to go home in a natural way. But when reason stops you from achieving your desire, your brain starts sending unnatural sign signals to your body. Okay. As a result, your body gets weak and it makes it more difficult for you to live in a strange land. In the end, you have to bend reason in order to achieve your desire to go home. So homesickness is born from homing instincts. And the stronger one homing instincts is, the stronger their homesickness. The strength of that homing sickness varies from individual to individual and depends on the environment in which those individuals live. When your home is safe and the environment you live in is dangerous, your homing instincts grow stronger. On the other hand, when the environment you live in is safer than your home instincts become very weak. Safety isn't the only element that affects its strength. Cultural aspects affect it too. So when you look at this like this, right? When the environment is you live in is safer than your home, homing instincts becomes very weak. So when Rena was a kid, I suppose, right? When the parents were not yet divorced, they were very happy, right? It was okay. And then once that place is not good anymore, it becomes a little bit different, right? Yeah. Her homing instincts grow stronger. Her desire to go back now to Hinamizawa. Something like that, right? The many customs demanding families to return home for major events varies with each region. So your birthplace culture also alters the strength of your homing instinct. Among those regions, the transcendents of Onigafuchi village were believed to have an excessively strong homing instincts. The people of Onigafuchi forbade their fellows from ever leaving. Many believe this was the effect of elitism and sense of purity I already mentioned before. People today still strongly believe that Oyashiro-sama puts his curse on you if you break this rule and abandon the village. This superstition could be interpreted as a homesickness. If homesickness is directly proportional to one's home instincts, then the exaggerated expression curse would signify the strength of their homesickness and also their homesickness or home instinct. I can assume that they hated the outside world and created an insular society precisely because of their powerful homing ability. Unfortunately, there's no way to measure the strength of the homing ability that the primitive people of Onigafuchi had. It was so strongly forbidden to leave the village that nobody left long enough to get homesick. However, after the Meiji era, things changed. The sacredness of the Onigafuchi dwindled with the efforts of modernization. Many young people started longing for the city life, and some people were forced to leave the village to get a job. As a result, villagers started venturing outside the village borders. That was when the transcendents of the Onigafuchi realized how strong their homing ability was for the first time. The residents of Hinamizawa got extremely homesick. After a while, people started to call this homesickness the curse of Oyashiro-sama. It became rumored that a person who left the village to get a job in a strange land was cursed, that he went crazy and died, and the people who had left the village started coming back to it or to either it or the nearby town. Their homesickness and their homing ability were very strong because of their culture. It's reasonable to think that these were cultivated by the unique religion in Hinamizawa, namely the cult of Oyashiro-sama. From the moment they were born, they were taught that the rules of Oyashiro-sama. They must have felt guilty about leaving the village unconsciously. As a result, they considered their homesickness to be the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I'm not sure if their homesickness got stronger because of the rules of Oyashiro-sama or they made the rules of Oyashiro-sama because their homesickness got stronger. I don't know which came first. I got tired of reading such small print and laid down on the floor in my bag. Continue, Rena, continue. I want to learn more. So the true identity of the curse of Oyashiro-sama is homesickness? Miyo-san believed my story and she let me read these scrapbooks. That's why I expected something interesting. But what's it saying is that the answer to all this is homesickness, which many doctors told me so many times at counseling, so I'm a little upset. The word homesickness can explain the extraordinary experience I had. I saw Oyashiro-sama come down to me from a bright light in the bathroom. I saw the dusky red nasty maggots come out of my blood vessels. This scrapbook doesn't explain any of that. I don't understand how Miyo-san was going to explain the cloud of maggots. Maybe she didn't have an explanation of that to begin with. Was it just delusion? I flipped through one of the other scrapbooks Miyo-san let me borrow. Looking for an explanation of the maggots, I found it. It had the exact title I was looking for. About maggots and the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Here we go, we're learning everything. In the Meiji era, a group of villagers were on their way back to Hinamizawa and they started discussing a rumor about a weird disease. They said that the maggots started crawling out of the wounds of a person who left Hinamizawa and that the maggots ate the person's body from the inside. The Shinto priest of the Furude shrine at the time explained that the weird disease was a sign of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. According to tradition, the Shinto priest showed the villagers an ancient scroll and he told them the story of the maggots had been passed down through the ages. This is what the scroll said: the world where the demons came from must be interpreted as the land of the death, or land of death. And the demons in that land of death had to live their lives while being eaten by maggots. The villagers, who are the demon's blood, had nothing to worry about as long as they lived in Hinamizawa under the protection of Oyashiro-sama. But once they left Hinamizawa, abandoning that protection, the maggots that had been sleeping in their blood would start to awaken and they'd eat their bodies from the inside out. This maggot disease scared the villagers for a while and they asked the shrine to provide them with protective talismans whenever they had to leave the village on business. So this is interesting as it's similar to the way homesickness was dealt with by the Swiss in the Middle Ages. After the war, the delusion of the maggot disease faded away, but there remained a custom to send talisman to families that lived away from Hinamizawa. The talisman had the word maggot on them. But the most interesting part about all of this is the residents of Hinamizawa didn't know about the maggot disease until the rumors began. I thought that their unconscious worship made those people think of a homesickness as a curse. So this is the case of the previously unknown maggot disease directly contradicted the research I had done so far. It's natural to think that the group of people who were on their way back to the village were lost in mass delusion because they strongly believe in the curse and that the Shinto priest took advantage of their state of panic to instill a deeper faith in them. But I'm not fully convinced that it was a merely coincidence that this delusion matched with the story in the old picture scroll. I wonder if it's possible to see maggots in a wound without having the prerequisite knowledge when a person is cursed by Oyashiro-sama. I wish Oyashiro-sama would put his curse on someone I could study. I'd love to see the maggots coming out of someone. I felt as if Mio-san was here and making that request of me. I remember, when she gave me that scrapbook, she said that I might be the only one who could understand them. I guess. I felt good just for a moment, because I found out that the maggots weren't a delusion. But at the same time, it destroyed my excuse that it was a delusion. The maggots weren't a delusion, they were there. All of a sudden, my wrist, my elbows, my inner thighs, and neck started itching. I felt the urge to cut open the blood vessel, but I quietly held it down. I remembered Mio-san looked very serious when I talked about the maggots. The maggots. She must have thought it was creepy. But so did I. While I was crying because nobody believed me, a part of me didn't want to believe that my body was filled with those creepy things. I think part of me wanted to believe that it was a delusion. But now I know it wasn't. It wasn't a delusion. There are some people who had the same experience. Maggots in the demon's blood will awaken when you lose the power or the protection of the Oyashiro-sama. In other words, they may not awaken under the protection of Oyashiro-sama. But all the villagers still have the maggots in them without knowing it. Ooh, okay. Okay. So everyone has it, right? They may not awaken under the protection of Oyashiro, but all the villagers still have the maggots in them. It's just worded a little bit differently, right? But pretty much you're saying that this sickness, everyone has it, and what do you call that? Dormant, right? It's just dormant there. People of the demon's blood are people who have the creepy maggots in their bodies. So everyone has it, but not everyone will become, I guess, like this, like Rena, right? Yeah, Rena, who else? Shion, and then Keiichi back then. Sure, the characters basically, I mean. I tried not to jump to conclusions and flip the pages again. I unconsciously looked for something related to the maggots. About parasites and the control of the host. Now parasites. The maggot disease made me think about something. Is it possible to say that extremely strong homesickness of Hinamizawa was an infectious disease caused by some kind of parasite? I'm not trying to connect the maggots they saw with parasites. I'm trying to think about the possibility that their culture, their religion, might be associated with the infectious disease. Many infectious diseases are caused unintentionally by parasites. A parasite's host is literally its home. It wants to live within the host's body for as long as it can, and the best way to do that is to coexist with the host without the host knowing it. Dude, what kind of... Is it a parasite? Is that actually a parasite though? For example, there's a parasite, right? Imagine it like a small bug in their brain. Ugh. Some parasites try to control their host and use them for prosperity. For example, some parasites have an ability to control their host. I wish this parasite... if there is a parasite like that, I want to see it. Hopefully they show it. In order to force them to be eaten by a superior host. A typical example is the Dicrocoelium dendriticum. Sorry. It uses snails or ants as intermediate hosts, and it forces them to move to the upper side of vegetation, so that it's easier for the superior host to consume it. One parasite that controls more complicated animals is called Toxoplasma gondii. It uses mice as an intermediate host, with the superior host being cats. Okay, this parasite makes a mouse lose its fear of cats in order to increase its chance of getting eaten, so that the parasite can live within the cat instead. Oh, okay. They are parasites that choose hosts at random. The rabies virus, is commonly known for that. It lives and breeds in the brain of the host, and it moves into the host's saliva through the salivary glands. Dude, if you get rabies, it's got GG. It's over. Like, this is one of the most dangerous viruses ever. It makes the host extremely aggressive in order to make it bite things randomly, so that it in turn can move into other hosts through the saliva. That's what rabies does. Many parasites have a similar ability to control hosts to their benefit. The example I used above are about parasites that move into the other host to prosper. But I think there must be some kind of parasite that controls its host in order to have a comfortable environment in which to live. I want to try to connect this theory to the abnormal homing ability and homesickness of the Onigafuchi residents. Let's say there's some kind of parasite that exists in Hinamizawa, and it lives within all of the villagers' bodies. For the parasite, Hinamizawa is the most comfortable environment to live in. So it gives the host a strong homing ability in order to make them stay in Hinamizawa. Furthermore, it causes the host to get homesick whenever they ignore this homing ability and try to leave. So parasites need a host in which to live. It's convenient for them if their hosts build a community in the environment where it feels comfortable. This theory makes it easier for me to explain the mysteries I described earlier. The transcendence of Onigafuchi knew about the existence of this parasite. They knew that as a host to the parasite, they couldn't live outside the village. That's why they created a culture and rules that prohibited contact with the outside world. It also explains that why people acted so abnormal during the dam conflict. I guess, yeah. I mean, that's normal though. You want to protect your place basically, right? But I guess with this parasite thing, it heightened it, right? To much more abnormal means, like super aggressive, right? Something like that. So the demons that came out of the swamp in the legend of Oyashiro-sama can be interpreted as the mass spread of the parasite. The story about the demons attacking the villagers must be a metaphor for the behavior of the infected villagers who were controlled by the parasite. This theory is too crazy, so I should have just laughed about it. But I felt bad for Mio-san, so I decided not to. But dude, all of these things that in the scrapbook is saying, it's basically happening though, right? Hinamizawa is controlled by a parasite. You could use a theory to explain how the maggots came out for me. I felt a little bit dizzy, but I was confused, and a part of me thought it was ridiculous, and another part of me thought it was more convincing than any curse. But Mio-san was probably erased because she wrote these scrapbooks. If so, the contents of the scrapbooks must be something they can't ignore. They tried to get all of her scrapbooks and consign them to oblivion. What if they notice some of her scrapbooks are missing? I felt a chill running through my spine. I have to keep it a secret that I have these scrapbooks, and I'll have to try to understand more about their contents. I remember Mio-san told me that the three families are behind a series of the mysterious deaths and that they're trying to resurrect the cult of Oyashiro-sama. According to the theory I just read, the parasite must be trying to maintain the current environment of Hinamizawa. The healthiest environment for it is a completely closed village, just like the primitive Onigafuchi. It must be very comfortable for the parasite if no host goes outside the village, so they don't even like that the villagers often leave the village to go shopping. That means the parasites would try to goad the host into resurrecting the cult of Oyashiro-sama. I remember there was an article in the scrapbook saying that the demon's blood runs thickest in the three families. That would mean that they have a larger amount of parasites in them than the other villagers, and that they're under its control. So the three families seem to be planning to bring the village back to the Onigafuchi era. Reviving the Watanagashi festival after the dam conflict can be interpreted as their desire to revive the faith that had started to fade away in the Meiji era. The Tree family, especially the Zonozaki family, have great influence over the region and the public organizations. What's going on here? I thought this to be poorly written theory, but pieces fit together one after another. I've never played a jigsaw puzzle as crazy as this. I felt my brain swirling due to this absurd theory. A part of me thought this was ridiculous, and another part of me thought I might be about to expose an unbelievable truth. When I tried to look into the center of it, I felt as if I was going to fall into the whirlpool and drown. I'll have to devote myself to reading more seriously. There must be some truth to this. It caused misfortune and made my life miserable after I moved to Ibaraki. I might be able to find the truth, including the cause of my parents' divorce and my desperate behavior. Right then, I heard a knock on the door all of a sudden, scaring me. I hid the scrapbooks under a cushion.
Rena, 電話が来てるぞ。
電話？こんな時間に？誰だろう？
本屋さんからだぞ。
Oh, it's Oishi.
本の取り寄せとか頼んだのか？沖宮書房の大石さんって人からだ。
I think Oishi called Keiichi like this back then, right? In the first chapter. Yeah, it's Oishi. Ooh. Why is the sound like that though? Oishi did that with Keiichi and nothing really. Like, it was just normal, normal conversation though. I opened the windows, but all they let in was the heat and the cries of the cicadas.
味いな。味いね。
It was break time between classes, but we couldn't really get any rest. Mia and I leaned on our desks exhausted by the heat. The younger kids sure are tough, considering how the heat wasn't bothering them at all. They were running around the classroom despite the temperature.
やっぱりさ、都会の学校だと教室にもクーラーとか入ってるわけ？
そんなことねえぞ。あるのはせいぜい職員室ぐらいだな。
うわぁ、それは羨ましいね。
Dude, but seriously though, with how rich the Sonozaki family is, you can donate air conditioners, Mia.
生徒みんなで職員室を襲って占拠とかしないの？
その辺の発想が実にミオン臭い。ああ。
I didn't even have energy to laugh. Mia and I stopped talking and used our notebooks to fan ourselves. I looked at the empty seat nearby. It was Rena's. Rena didn't come to school today. She called and told Ch.6 she couldn't come because she's sick.
レナのやつ、最近元気ないよな。
だね。暑さにやられたのかもね。
なあ、本気で暑さでやられたと思ってるのか？
そう思ってるけど。
例の一件がさ、やっぱりじわじわと来てるんじゃないのか？
かもね。それに暑さも加わって夏バテでも起こしたんじゃないかな。
I can't even imagine how distressing it was for her to commit a murder, dismember the bodies, and then caught by her friends. We took each other's hands at the place and we united. All of us believed that we had closed the case there and had regained our peace. But was that as easy for Rena as it was for us? She must have not quite recovered yet.
おじさんはみんなで楽しく遊んでればそのうち元気になると思ってたんだけどね。そこまで心の傷が浅くなかったってことかな。
こういう時さ、どうしたらレナを元気づけられるかな？
多分ほっとくのが一番じゃないかな。
おいおい、そんなのでいいのかよ。俺たち仲間だろ？
ほら、ホームシックってあるじゃない？あれもね、ちょっと寂しいからって言って実家に電話なんかかけちゃうと一気に発症しちゃうらしいよ。寂しい時はぐっと耐えて、例えばスポーツにでも打ち込んで気分転換を図るのが一番なんだってさ。
気分転換させてやりたくても、あいつ最近部活に加わらないし。
レナはどうか知らないけどさ、人には甘えたい欲ってのがあるんだよ。そばに支えてくれる人や同情してくれる人がいると甘えたくなる欲。慰めてくれる人が現れるとさ、際限なく甘えちゃうことってない？
どうだろうな。
際限なく甘えるってことは相手の同情をより深く得ようとするってこと。そうするとケイちゃんは慰めてるつもりなのに相手はどんどん落ち込んでいっちゃうことがあるんだよね。慰められて甘えられる、これに味を占めると不幸に酔うのが癖になる。レナもその辺分かってるからわざと一人になろうとしてるんじゃない？慰めや甘えが目的だったら私たちのそばにいて涙を流せば済むわけだし。
じゃあ落ち込んでるレナをどう励ませばいいんだよ。
女の心情としては辛さを励ましてくれるより忘れさせてくれる方が嬉しいね。
慰めるな、励ますな。なんだよ、お手上げじゃないかよ。
慰めるな励ますなは心理カウンセラーの鉄則だって知ってる？ 結局、心の傷ってのは自分で治すようにできてる。周りの人が治したとしても、それは本当の完治じゃない。だから、レナが自分で元気になるのを私たちは見守るしかないんだよ、きっと。
理屈じゃ理解できるが、なんだか薄情な気がして好きになれねえな。
I clasped my hands behind the back of my head, looking at the ceiling. Mion laughed.
それだけレナのことを心配してくれるケイちゃんが身近にいるなら、レナは大丈夫だよ。立ち直れるよ。
近くにいるだけでか？うさんくさいな。
圭一にだってできることがありますですよ。
Rika-chan spoke up. I wonder how long she'd been listening to our conversation.
俺にもできることがあるのか？
レナが話したいと思った時や打ち明けたいと思った時に静かに聞いてあげることなのです。
聞くだけでいいのか？励まさなくていいのかよ。
ケイちゃん、打ち明けるだけで心が軽くなるもんだよ。静かに耳を傾けるのが何よりも嬉しい時ってある。
ミーの言う通りなのですよ。レナが話したいと思った時、いつでも話しかけられる場所にいてあげるのもきっと仲間として大切なことなのだと思いますです。
Mion and Rika-chan were absolutely right. I was going to pat Rena on her shoulder and tell her to cheer up when I saw her, but now I know that that would have been one-sided on my part. Rena doesn't want to feel down herself. She wants to cheer up, if at all possible. If I cheered her up irresponsibly, she'd be very disappointed because she'd think that I didn't understand her pain.
そうだな。俺、ちょっと人の心ってやつを理解しようとしてなかったな。レナを励ましたいのは俺の欲求であって、レナの求めることじゃない。ありがとな、二人とも。俺、ひょっとすると今日まで何か勘違いをしてたかもしれないぜ。
On that day, I thought I cheered her up, but I started to doubt if I had reached her heart. I might have just been dragging her someplace where I wanted to go. I wasn't on her side, in her real sense of the term. All of a sudden, Rika-chan patted my head.
圭一は一番のレナの味方ですよ。それは疑わなくて大丈夫なのです。
俺、また考え事を口に出しちまってたのか？
レナの心には届いてるよ。ケイちゃんはあの日、とても強い力をレナに与えたんだからさ。
Yes, Keiichi's speech was really good.
いやー、でもさ、よくよく思い出すとすっごい恥ずかしいこと言ってたよね。
We heard footsteps from the hallway and everybody started to head back to their desks.
お待たせしました。それでは委員長、号令。
Kiritz.
起立。
Okay. Kiritz. We didn't have a club meeting that day because Rena wasn't around. That worked out for me because I had an errand to run. It wasn't a big errand. My mom wanted me to use her point card to get some detergent. I didn't see the point of going all the way to the store just to get the detergent, but my mom told me to go because she's busy helping my dad with his work. I started walking towards a shopping center. I noticed someone was watching me, hiding behind a distant tree. Is it Rena? I wonder who would do such a mischievous thing, so I stared at them to find out who it was, at which point they emerged.
お？レナじゃねえか。
It's Rena. Are you feeling better now? I was about to say that, but I swallowed the words. Somehow Rena looked very serious.
どうしたんだ？
Rena put her index finger to her lips, told me to be quiet and look around carefully, and beckoned for me to come over. I had no idea what was going on, but I followed her instructions, shut my mouth, and run to her. Rena gestures for me to squat down to hide in the shadow of the bush. I didn't know why I had to do that, but I could ask her the questions later. Okay, what is happening with Rena now? I mean, she's totally losing it, I suppose. I just followed her orders for now. Rena looked like she was making sure no one was following her. I guess reading Takano's scrapbooks made her very, very cautious like this. If it was Mion, she'd do something like this just to fool me as a joke. But I know Rena doesn't do things like this for fun. I had no idea what kind of situation I gotten myself into, but I could feel how tense it was, and I made myself as small as I could.
もういいよ。ごめんね。
The tone of her voice made me relax a little.
どうしたってんだよ、一体。
多分私、誰かに最近後をつけられているの。
So yeah, her, how to put it, psyche, I guess, is just getting worse and worse now.
なんだって？
Who would follow her? When I thought about it, I realized how stupid the question was.
まさか警察かよ。
Rena Mamiya and Teppei Hojo. Two people disappeared. Even though they were awful human beings, the police had to investigate if they found out they'd gone missing. How long has it been, by the way? I wish they'd put dates sometimes in this game, so we know, for example, that happened like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, right? It probably wouldn't be difficult to find out that Rena had often been to Rena's house. But it should be okay. As long as they don't find the bags, it should be okay.
警察なのか警察じゃないのかわからないけれど、綿流しの夜以降、誰かにずっと見られている気がするの。
どういうことだよ。
Once I asked that question, Rena stared directly at me with a blank expression. Her eyes looked as though they were evaluating me. She stared at me as if she was assessing whether I was worth talking to, but about something very important. Rena squeezed her own wrist tightly, then started talking in a whisper.
話してもいいけど、誰にも内緒にできる。
Okay, she's gonna talk to Keiichi about, I guess, the scrapbooks, right?
ああ、もちろんだぜ。レナがそうしろってんなら誰にも喋らない。
うん。圭一くんなら信用できるよ。
She smiled and looked around one more time.
連中はひょっとすると、ミオさんのスクラップ帳を探しているのかもしれないの。
ミオさん？で、ああ、看護師の高野さんのことか。あとスクラップ帳って何のことだ？
秘密の捜査になっているって言ってたから、多分圭一くんは知らないよね。高野ミオさん、殺されたんだって。
いつ？
She told me to be quiet again. I lowered my voice and let her continue.
綿流しの夜、私たちはミオさんと、あと富武さんに会ったよね。あの直後に2人が襲われたんだって。富武さんはお社様のたたりにあって喉をかきむしって死んだ。ミオさんは岐阜の山中で焼き殺されていたと言ってたの。
Okay. So in this one, she also got burned. So I guess she always gets burned every time she disappears, right? Okay, but that doesn't... Remember what Uichi said, right? In Watsunegashi? She died a day earlier. So it was probably not her, but well, we'll probably get into that in the future, right? So let's just continue.
それ本当かよ。そんなの誰も知らないぞ。
それは警察が伏せて捜査をしてるからなの。ひなみ沢村連続開始事件は今年で5年目になっちゃうでしょ。だから変に騒がれたくないんで事件を公にしていないんだって。
なるほど。秘密捜査なのは分かったが、レナはそんな話どこで聞いたんだよ。
内緒だよ。私実は大石っていう沖宮署の刑事さんと連絡を取り合っているの。その人に教えてもらった。
どうして大石って人がレナに。
さあ、ちょっとそこはわからない。彼が言うには私なら信用できそうだからって言うんだけどね。
I was dumbfounded to hear all of this, but I knew she wasn't lying. If it was Mion, she'd be sticking out her tongue out by now, but Rena wouldn't make a joke out of something like this.
ミオさんが殺された理由は多分彼女の研究のせいだと思うの。ミオさんがこの村の歴史とか民族学とかそういうのを熱心に調べてたってのは知っている？
なんとなくは聞いたことある。
Takano-san was interested in the occult and in mysterious things. I remember Mion once told me that she was studying the village's legends of man-eating demons out of curiosity.
彼女は多分その研究の中でこの村に関するある重要な秘密を知ってしまったの。あるいは彼女はそんなにも確信には踏み入ってなかったのかもしれないけど、そうは思われなかったんだろうね。
ちょっと待て。この村の秘密ってなんだよ。
私はミオさんのスクラップ帳をほんの数冊借りて読んだだけ。でも彼女が特に大事にしていた秘蔵の数冊だからかなり重要なことが記してあったと思う。だから多分ミオさんが至ろうとしていたことに8割方ぐらいは近づいていると思うの。でもあまりに突拍子もなくて私にはまだ信じられない。ミオさんの想像が正しいかどうか検証してる段階なの。
で、何なんだ一体。秘密を知ると殺されるっていうこの村の秘密ってのは。
I gasped the moment those words left my mouth. If Rena told me, I might get killed too.
圭一君にはまだ全部話したくない。確証が持てたら話すね。だってそれくらいに途方もないとんでもない話だから。
確証ってなんだよ。
例えば予備知識のない内訳については私自らはその存在を検証できているけど、他にもたくさん未検証のことがあるの。それらを埋めていかないと私ですらにわかには信じられない。
Maggots. I was totally lost now and I wanted to ask her some questions, but I decided not to cut in. It was so hot outside. But Rena held her arms as if she was cold.
レナ、俺はいつだってお前の味方なんだからな。俺だけは信用してくれて構わない。
ありがとう。その一言がすごい嬉しい。
From her expression alone, I could tell that she really meant it. I could also tell that she was involved in something very big and that she felt lonely because she couldn't tell anybody else about it. I had to be on her side while she was going through a difficult time.
私とね、 今日ここで出会ったことは内緒にした方がいいと思うの。私と接触があったことが知られたら、圭一君にも危害が及ぶかもしれないから。
わかった。俺に何か協力できることはないのかよ。
今はない。でも協力をお願いできることが分かっただけで、今の私には心強いよ。最後には頼らせてね。
おう、任せとけ。
し、車が来る。
Okay, Rena pushed my head into the bush. I went along with it and crouched down even lower in the bushes. We stayed quiet for a while. I could hear our car coming closer, and after a while, a white van. Ooh, a white van again. Yeah, it's been a while since this white van appeared. I was surprised at her hearing. She heard a car coming when it was still far off in the distance.
今の車、ナンバー見えた？
いや、ごめん。見えなかった。
私もちょっと見えなかったけど、多分さっきと同じナンバーの車だと思うの。
その、レナを尾行しているとかいう連中か？
多分。普段車なんか通らない道で、今日は何度も追い上げられるの。その度に私は隠れてやり過ごしているからいいんだけど、どうもおかしい。
そいつらなのか？高野さんたちを殺してレナが持ってるスクラップ帳を狙っているという連中は。
多分。
I don't blame her for not being able to believe what's going on because this is really crazy. Takano-san uncovered something really significant through her studies. The people who wanted information hidden found out about it, and they killed her on the night of Otanagashi, copying the curse of Oyashiro-sama. They're looking for the scrapbooks, the fruits of her research, and Rena has them. That's why they're trying to kill Rena?
じゃあレナの家が危ないってことはないのか？
大丈夫。スクラップ帳はゴミ山の私の隠れ家に隠してある。お父さんが不安だけど、何も知らないからこそ何も危害が及ばないかもしれない。圭一くんが言わなくても顔に書いてあるよ。突拍子もない話でとても信じられないでしょ。
I wanted to deny it, but I felt bad to lie, so I remained silent in the affirmative.
それが当然の反応。私だってミオさんのスクラップ帳を読み始めた最初はなんだこりゃって思って全然信じられなかったもの。すべてに目を通してようやく何かの筋が見えてきたんだもん。
すまん。もちろんレナの味方になりたいのは本心だ。でも話が全然見えないんで、どう助けてやればいいか分かんないんだ。
話せば圭一くんの身にも危険が降りかかるよ。
レナにはすでに降りかかってるんだろ？ならおあいこだぜ、気にするな。
わかった。話す。多分ミオさんたちを殺したのはひなみ沢御三家。もっとはっきり言ってしまえばみーちゃんの家である園崎本家。
どうして？
圭一くんも過去の連続開始事件は知ってるよね。
ああ。ダム戦争の時の村の旧敵ばかりが毎年犠牲になっていくっていうあれだろ？
この連続開始事件はダム戦争の生産のようなものなの。 村の裏切り者を片付けることによって本当の意味でダム戦争を終わらせようとする。
確かにそう見えないことはないよな。誰もがはっきりと口にはしないが、うすうすと園崎家の仕業だと疑ってるみたいな話は聞いたことあるぜ。
でも裏切り者を制裁するなら別に綿流しの場にこだわらなくてもいいんじゃない？毎年たたりで一人、鬼隠しで一人なんてスローペースで殺す必要はない。そうでしょ？
I've never heard the words demoning away before, but Rena clearly thought that they have some kind of creepy significant meaning, so I decided not to cut in.
つまりこれらの連続開始事件は綿流しの祭りに神聖性を取り戻そうとする意志があるの。もっと踏み込んで言うと、明治以降に失われた鬼ヶ淵村の神聖性を取り戻すための段階的イベント。彼らは最終的には太古の昔にそうだったような原理的なお社様信仰を復活させることを目的としている。
お社様信仰、古出神社のことか？
そう。古出神社って崇められていると思う？お年寄りの人は敬っているけど、それだけだよね。子供たちは境内を遊び場くらいにしか思ってないし、ほとんどの村人たちも地域の集会所くらいにしか思っていない。その神聖性は失われている。それがダム戦争をきっかけに蘇ったの。彼らはそれをお社様信仰を復活させるいい機会だと捉えた。
ってことはつまりお社様信仰の狂信者たちが裏で暗躍しているってことか？
そういうこと。そもそもお社様信仰は御三家によって管理されていた。だから御三家には現代にも脈々とお社様信仰を復活させなければならないという至上目的が受け継がれているの。それを思えば御三家がダム戦争中に村を一丸にまとめたり、廃れかけていたお社様を引き合いに出し、古出神社にわざわざ同盟事務所を設けた理由も透けて見えてくる。
じゃあひなみ沢村連続開始事件ってのはひなみ沢御三家、いやお社様を信仰する狂信的な集団の仕業なら待てよ、どうして高野さんが殺されなきゃならないんだ？
それは御三家が鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれた太古からずっと隠してきたこの村のある重大な秘密に関係があるの。それを暴かれるとお社様という神の神聖性が失われる。だから彼らはミオさんの研究が確信に近づいたことを知り消したの。
その重大な秘密ってのは何なんだ？それを知ると俺も狙われるってんだろうけど上等だぜ。
だからそれはまだ言いたくない。私自身が10割の確証を得るまで言いたくない。多分今ここで話しても圭一君は耐えきれなくなって笑い出してしまうに違いないもの。
おいおい、俺がそんな奴に見えるかよ。
もう少し時間が欲しいの。あまりの事実に私ですら受け入れきれていないの。だからもう少し時間を欲しいの。お願い。
わかった。
今日ここで話したことは誰にも喋っちゃダメだよ。みーちゃんとリカちゃん、もちろんさとこちゃんにもダメ。
わかったよ。
じゃあ圭一君はもう行って。私はもう少し辺りを伺ってから行く。用心に過ぎるということはないからね。
Rena ducked low in the bushes and moved away. I was left alone there. The cries of the cicadas surrounded me. making it seem as if I was alone there the whole time. I started walking, still dumbfounded. In the end, Rena didn't tell me the secret because she was afraid of putting me in danger. But she told me clearly that there are people who want to resurrect the cult of Oyashiro-sama, and that they're among the 3 families that control the entire village. I don't believe this though, yeah. Because in Miyakashi, we learned from Mion, right? When Shion was talking to her by the end, right? That Mion talked to Oreo. They were not doing any of this curse of Oyashiro-sama thing. Like the victims, the missing people, they were not doing that. So, yeah. They orchestrated a series of mysterious deaths for that purpose, and they killed Takano-san because she got too close to the secret they want to hide. Rena met Takano-san and happened to obtain the scrapbooks in which Takano-san wrote about her research. I'll just give my say later. Rena still can't believe the secret written in the scrapbooks because it's just too crazy. Hey. Come on, Rena. You're kidding me, right? It's like one of those comic book stories. A mysterious occult group is plotting a conspiracy. I mean, it's not even funny, even if it's a joke. But Rena is right about one thing. Even if this is true, it's really hard to believe. I understand why Rena wanted to wait to tell me the secret. Maybe she was just fooled by Takano-san? But Takano-san was murdered for real. So this, or is it also true that someone is following Rena looking for the scrapbooks? I remember Rena said that the white van was following her. You can see white vans anywhere. I bet there are a lot in this village alone. She might just be an oversensitive to everything right now. Rena hasn't recovered from the shock since that day. So that's probably why she got the idea into her head that the police or someone else is coming after her. I didn't cut in while she was talking. I think I did the right thing. If I had said that it was ridiculous or something to her face, Rena wouldn't have trusted me ever again. At that point, however, I gasped. A white van was parked on the side of the street. I wasn't sure if this was the same car that passed by earlier since I didn't see the plate number. But the number of people in the car and the ambience of it was similar to the one earlier. And there's one other thing that looks suspicious about it. There was no reason to park here. It was on a small road in the middle of the woods. There was nothing around here. No traffic lights, no vending machines, and no public phones. I probably wouldn't notice it under ordinary circumstances, but I felt something was wrong. And once I noticed how odd it was definitely suspicious. There were 4 men in work uniforms in the white van. The driver was smoking a cigarette, but the other men were just sitting there doing nothing. They wanted to take a break or have a smoke, and they could have chosen a better place than here. It was possible that they stopped because they had to go to the bathroom really badly, but it didn't seem that way either. They didn't look as comfortable or relaxed like they would if they were taking a break. They looked like they were waiting for something to happen, so there was a deep tension in that car. Could they possibly be waiting for Rena? No way. I didn't see anybody walking around here. This road is a back road and nobody really uses this road, let alone a car. But it's impossible. I felt bad for Rena to even think about it, but this must be something that she got into her head because she's feeling victimized or something. She must be imagining things because she's still nervous from when her friends caught her in the act of killing Rena and Teppei.
兄ちゃん、
I heard someone say that when I passed by the van. It couldn't mean me, he didn't even know who I was. So I assumed he was talking to one of the other people in the car. So I pretended I didn't hear him and kept walking by, and then he said it again. And honked the horn as well.
兄ちゃん、すまんね。学校の帰りかいね。
He had a strong accent. Similar to that of the older villagers, he must live here, but I didn't know him. I could tell he didn't know me either because he didn't call me by my name.
はい、そうですけど。
兄ちゃん、学校からこの道をずっと歩いてきたんで。ちょうど文房具屋の角を曲がって。
そうですけど。何か？
They were probably lost, I thought. This village has many small turns that you can easily get lost when you try to take a shortcut. So they must have been waiting for someone to ask directions. But then it said something disturbing.
兄ちゃんさ、この道の途中で女の子に会わんかったかいね。白い帽子に白い服を着た女の子なんよ。紫のリボンもついとん。
Okay, it's actually they're looking for Rena.
会わんかったかいね。
They were definitely talking about Rena.
いえ。会ってないです。
I wasn't ready to hear them ask that. Rather, I was scared. That's why my voice got all shaky. Up until that point, I couldn't believe Rena's story. I thought it was ridiculous. I actually laughed, if only to myself. That's why I wasn't ready at all. My heart was beating fast and I was sweating all over. I immediately answered no, I didn't, but it might have sounded like an obvious lie. So the driver stared into my eyes. He looked like he was trying to figure out if I was lying or not, and my legs started to shake. I'm sorry. I felt like a frog under the glare of a snake, and I couldn't move a muscle for a while. But I think the same went for those men too. They were clearly a suspicious group, and they had just asked a villager about a girl out of the blue. Anybody would get suspicious. And I was right. The man broke the ice and started making excuses before I even asked him why he wanted to know about the girl.
ああ、そんな深い意味はないんで。さっき女の子を追い抜いたのによ。来たのが男の子だったから、あれと思っただけなんで。
そうですか。
忘れてえな。ごめんな兄ちゃん。うちらもう行くんて。
Okay, started the engine and drove away. After they left, I saw nothing. That's right, nothing. There was no reason why they had to park there or here. So, were they really waiting for Rena? Okay, let's talk about this. But, okay, if there are tips here, let's check the tips first. Then we'll talk for our ending, I guess. Before we end. Take out list again. This is gonna be about Rena again, for sure. Furthermore, it's important to closely monitor her father, since he also suffered a mental shock from the divorce and has been trying hard to take care of the patient. There's a strong possibility that he may develop an induced delusion disorder. As the first step of mental care, one should listen to the patient's story carefully without denying it. That's the most basic of basics. However, when the patient and the listener are related, it's easy for the listener to become deeply influenced by the patient's delusions. I mean, I guess. Additionally, a delusion parasitosis is widely known to make people highly impressionable, and the influence sometimes can spread throughout a whole community. Therefore, even if several people claim to acquire a parasitic infection, it doesn't necessarily prove the existence of a parasite. Some of the phone calls to the healthcare centers for the extermination of pests are nothing but a mass delusion. Since the subject matter of the delusion in this case is extremely rabid, the patients might harm or even kill each other in abnormal ways. Believing this to be the treatment for their disease, they might also give up hope and commit suicide together in the worst case. So the influential delusion disorder, otherwise known as shared psychotic disorder, shows a particularly strong possibility of influencing close companions. Anyone who is going to contact the patients must be made to understand that the patients are under medical treatment and must be warned not to be influenced by the patient's delusions. Individuals who are likely to be easily influenced are the patient's family members and the people who deeply care about the patient, such as boyfriends or girlfriends. Okay, where's the takeout though? Is it a lunch takeout, right? Yeah, lunch takeout list too. There was nothing there. Okay, give me a second. Let me drink some water. That was a lot of talking though. So, yes. This episode, first part with Rena, right? That I really like that first part there. It was Takano's notes and pretty much, yeah, telling us what's been happening, this homesickness, this parasites, this maggots thing. I really liked it though, yeah. We will probably have a much more detailed explanation to that, right? Probably not in this chapter, maybe next chapter or the 8th chapter. We're very close to finishing this game, so probably there we're gonna get much more details there, right? Like, but for this one, it was a nice, at least a nice start, telling us maybe that it's parasites. Everyone has it in Hinamizawa. It's dormant to everyone has it, but it's dormant. Then some of the people can, yeah, probably activate it, right? More or less when they're leaving the village or something like that. And for Rena, she's thinking that this is the work of the 3 families, right? But we learned in Miyakashi with Oreo. I keep repeating this for some reason, sorry. But yeah, Oreo said that they've not done anything basically, right? The kidnapping of the kid with Akasaka back then in the 4th chapter, they didn't do that. All of the victims of the curse of Ayashiro-sama, they didn't do that. Sure, they're Yakuza, they're very, very suspicious, shady people, right? But they were not the one doing that, right? Oreo said that to Mion. Mion explained it to Shion, right? Before, I guess, Shion kicked her down the well. Or stun gunned her down the well, right? So it was most likely Mion was not lying there. That was the truth there. So for this, guys, we see the white van, right? So for this white van thing, remember in Onikakushi, right? There was a doctor, I guess, at the ending. Was it doctor? I forgot. Doctor, director, whatever. There, but it's Irie, right? It's Irie for sure. It's gonna be Irie. We didn't see him because Keiichi killed both Mion and Rena back then, right? And then he ran away, right? But yeah, we also saw the white van there. People surrounding his house, right? I guess they were gonna try to take him. And these people that we see now again in this this episode right here, the white van, I think these are the guys called mountain dogs, whatever you call it. What chapter is that? Higurashi, right? Irie was asking the people there, like, because Keiichi escaped, right? He was like, oh, how many doctors do we have here? How many staff do we have here? And then how many mountain dogs are here? He said something like that, right? So I guess these guys are the mountain dogs, and they're looking for Rena because she has Takano's notes, right? So maybe the reason for Takano or them looking for Rena is, I think Takano is still alive though. I never believe she's dead or she has died. Like in What's Nagashi, right? When Uishi explained it that, oh, Takano died, or the body died. The body that was burned like a day before, right? So Keiichi was like, but I met Takano-san on this day, etc., right? And he kind of like, oh, was I seeing a dead person? Something like that. So that body that got burned is most likely not Takano, right? For sure, it's not Takano. Okay, it's probably not Takano. There has to be an explanation to this, but maybe not in this chapter as well. Yeah, maybe in the next one, but not here. So I guess she just wants to take her scrapbooks back, right, from Rena. She couldn't appear to Rena anymore, I suppose, right? Because, yeah, if they faked her death like that, for example, they faked her death, right? She cannot just appear to Rena and just get the scrapbooks back, right? So And Takano is the nurse in that clinic, right, with Irie, so she knows of these guys as well, right? These mountain dogs dudes. So maybe she ordered them to take it back from Rena, right? That's just one of my theories so far. But again, because yeah, that just makes sense there. Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense, I mean. All of the things in the clinic, all of the people in the clinic, Irie, Takano, right? That's the only thing that makes sense there. Seriously, like, we still have missing information, of course, but yeah, that's my theory for now. Will we see Takano in this episode or in this chapter? I mean, still? Probably not. Most likely not, I think. But maybe at the ending. But let's say I'll say 90% not, or 95% she's not gonna appear. That 5% she might appear. It's still hard to say right now. If they're faking it, they're not gonna show her in this chapter for sure. Maybe the next chapter, the second to the last chapter, they'll tell us stuff, right? But yeah, I'm very curious about those guys now. Is Irie good? Most of the time, most of the chapters, he's good. Yeah, he's a good guy. One time he was suspicious was in Tatarigoroshi. Before he died in Tatarigoroshi, right? Yeah, he died there. But yeah, that was the only time I think he was suspicious. Yes, that was the only time. But we'll learn more of that. I don't want to talk more on it right now. Because right now they're getting chased, or at least Rena is getting chased, right? By these guys in the white van. So we'll have to see. But that is it for now. So we're gonna continue this and do more of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 6, Tsumihoroboshi in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye bye.